Seated, seated. Find your sit bones. There they are, the left one, the right one. Get that sense of that nice pelvic bowl all the way around. Big wings. Let's think of that upper back rim of the pelvis releasing in case there's any residual tension from lying around in Sphinx pose. Rest your hands on your thighs, not at the knee end, but the hip end. And wherever they really rest is absolutely fine. That contact, and sometimes I would even get a cushion to rest my hands on, to make more contact, to really let my shoulder girdle know that my hands have now turned into a little set of upper body legs. So there they are, just resting. There's no pressure through them. It's a purely sensory connection at this point. But it means that if I wanted to, I could think from those hands up into my elbows, up from the elbows into my tops of arms, up from the tops of arms into the collarbones, across to the base of the front of the neck, giving my shoulder girdle and myself a bit of upper body support. And there's no effort there, it's all still soft, that was all just direction. Find your sit bones again, that lovely pelvic bowl. And see if you can really get a sense or imagine that in the center of your pelvic bowl, not at the back, but in the center, is your spine, your chunky main body of the spine, the bit you would see if you were looking front ways into a skeleton. And you're thinking of that as your stem that's coming all the way up through you, and it's coming all the way up through and into your skull, up in there. And there's your support. And because it's there and it's supported, you can let some of the back muscles soften through down the left-hand side of your back, through down the right, down the side of the body. You can even let go in your belly and let that soften. And because we've let go a little bit through the back muscles, the sides of us, the front of us, we've got a little bit more flexibility. And so just test that out, leaving your hands where they are so you're not over moving anywhere. You're just saying, oh yeah, look, I could let the cylindrical rib cage sort of roll to the right, roll to the left. And the pelvis stays exactly where it is. There, a nice big bowl shape with your spine spirally rotating in the middle of it. Starting really low in the pelvis now, get yourself a sense of where the sort of front of your lumbar spine is. Think of it just dropping a bit. Nothing to do here, nothing to hold up. And as you let that front of spine drop, be aware of the space beyond the crown of your head. Not heaving yourself into it, not trying, but just awareness, space above the crown of the head. As you soften in the cake belly and let the spine lengthen down into the pelvis. And then remembering that actually there's a big space between the top of your pelvic bowl and the bottom of your thoracic cage, and that is very movable. And I would like you to take your mind in there and turn from there. So that is where your turn is coming from. Right in here, the ribs, the lower ribs are turning, pelvis is not. One of your hands will probably drop off your cushion if you've got a cushion. And then pause. You've turned a bit and you've paused. And then once you're in your partial turn, you're going to find your sit bones again and let them drop. you're going to know that there's a space above the crown of your head, but you're not heaving up into it. And you're going to breathe so that that whole rib cage, excuse the dog, the whole rib cage can expand and release with each breath. And let yourself just spiral back again. Back in center, find the sit bones again. Think about them going away from each other, sort of widening through the seat. At the top of the pelvis, you've got that whole bowl shape going there. And you've got your stem, your main stem of you, the spine coming up through the middle, all the way up through to your skull. Easy jaw, soft tongue, neck free, head releasing, forwards on the spine, thinking out through the crown. In your mind again, find that gap between the top of your pelvic bowl and the bottom of your lower ribs, the lower back ribs especially, floating rib area, and know that that's where the elasticity is, that's where the turning will be. Thinking of that cylindrical rib cage doing the moving, just let yourself turn to the other side. And when you get there, when you get to a little bit of a turn, doesn't have to be massive, doesn't have to be huge. Just pause and see what can release again. See what tried to help that didn't really need to get involved. Maybe those back muscles are trying to be a bit busy again, perhaps thinking of the whole back just widening a bit so that that easy breathing can happen through the sides of the waist and under your armpits. Easy in the jaw. Know that the space beyond the crown of the head is somewhere that you can release up into, and that the floor has got you so that your pelvis can drop and rest into the ground as you spiral back the other way. When you're back in balance again, find those sit bones again and just give yourself a little bit of a forwards and backwards rock. Just saying, oh yeah, those sit bones, they really are like rockers. When you're back in balance, reclaim the awareness in the hands. Just say, oh yeah, there's my hands, softly resting on the cushion or on myself. Thinking up from the hands into the elbows, up from the elbows into the tops of your arms and all the way through to the base of the front of the neck. Can you soften through the front of the neck and think about a lightness under your breastbone? As if the breastbone was directing sort of forwards and up. Don't throw your head up backwards, it doesn't need to go anywhere. It's in balance, it's resting. And then when you're ready, you can come out of that